Oh, okay. Oh, great, great.
Okay, the meeting will now come to order. Ms. Thompson, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Thomson?
Present.
Mr. Baum? Mr. Martin?
Present.
Ms. Brown?
Present.
Dr. Fellow?
Here.
Dr. Mann? Ms. Waugh? Mr. Soto?
We have a closed session item that's going to address Government Code Section 54957, employee discipline, dismissal, release to employees. Government Code Section 54957.6, collective bargaining. PCCFA, CSEA, 777, ISSU, and POA. The negotiator is Ms. Gail Cooper, our General Counsel. And Government Code Section 54957.6, negotiation with unrepresented employees, Confidential Management Association. Again, our negotiator is Gail Cooper, our General Counsel. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board on closed session items? If not, we will adjourn into closed session and be back here at 7 o'clock.
That'll get it. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, the Board of Trustees is now back in open session. There is no reportable action from the closed session that we had. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would ask our General Counsel, Ms. Cooper, to lead us in that, please.
Goodness.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this point, I'm going to turn the meeting to Dr. Rocha, our Superintendent President, to introduce our new faculty members, and following that, we will have a brief recess for a little reception.
Great. Thank you, President Thompson. Members of the Board of Trustees, we have a happy duty right now to introduce the new incoming regular faculty, and so we're going to introduce them to you personally. We're glad that they're with us tonight. The deans are with us tonight, and so what I'll ask is Vice President Jacobs to start us off, and I think we're going to go division by division, and until we get to the end of this this great group. Jackie?
They have this. Yes. Thank you very much to the board and President. We're delighted to introduce our great group of new faculty this evening. And our first one will be, we will use the outline that coming from the deans. We will begin with business, and then we will just come on down the line. Mr. Gary Woods, Dean of Business. He should come to you. You should, excuse me, would you mind coming to the mic? Would you mind coming to the mic so that they can just be seen? And okay, just so they can see them. And we can do it right quick. Here's the mic over here, sir. Okay. And you can just raise your hand as he introduces you.
I'm proud to introduce two new faculty members. This is Jamal Ashraf. He teaches computer science. And Michelle Lee teaches our accounting.
Thank you very much. Okay. And Dr. Olivo. Is the Dean of Counseling.
I am pleased to introduce to you Cecilia Medina, Helena Jarso, Gina Lopez, and Tomas Riojas, our new counselors.
Dr. Bell, the Vice President for Student and Learning Services.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm substituting for Dean Ken Yamaguchi, and it's my pleasure to introduce Ricardo Castillos, who is our new teaching specialist in Learning Disabled Services.
And did you make the other introduction while you're there for athletics?
I certainly can do that. I'm back again. This is really a reintroduction of Mr. John Woods, who is our Director of Course, yes, John, who's our coordinator over in physical education and athletics, and he's going to introduce our newest faculty member, and I'm going to save that for him. John?
Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce our new head football coach and kinesiology, health, and exercise science instructor, Fred Fimbres.
And we won our football game on Saturday. Okay, all right. He said he came to win.
He's undefeated as head coach.
Undefeated. All right, great. Okay, our next one I will introduce, and I'm very delighted to introduce Mr. Andy Koo from Architecture. Are you here, Andy? If so, would you stand? I know that I think he was teaching, but he was going to try to get by. But anyway, let's Andy Koo, Architecture. Thank you. And we'll continue then with English. It's Irma, Dean Irma.
I feel like I'm in Make Way for Ducklings. It's my pleasure to introduce three new composition instructors. We have Kathy Kataris, and Ashley Gallagher, and Shelley Semtani.
And our health sciences, Dr. Barbara Freund. Dr. Freund seems not to be here yet, so I will introduce, do we have Ms. Lynn Lilu? Okay, you're not here, but that's health sciences. So anyway, for health sciences, all right. Now we have our languages, Dr. Ted Young.
It's my pleasure to introduce Lindsay Pilgreen, who will be teaching English as a second language.
Library, Dean Mary Ann Long.
Librarians are some of my favorite people, and I'm delighted to introduce these two, Pearl Lee and Diana Lopez.
Mr. Charlie Hogue, or Dean, okay.
Good evening. I'm very proud and very pleased to introduce Dr. ABD Rebecca Corder, those of you who know that, and Dr. Richard Abdel Karim.
Natural Sciences, Dr. Dave Douglas. All right.
You are being televised, you know.
Ted said not to show off, so. I want to introduce two of my three new fabulous faculty. All of them are chemists. We'll start ladies first. Dr. Melissa Harmon and Dr. Peter Castro. Both are in class right now, so.
Oh, great. Performing Communication Arts. Dr. Unwise.
Can't believe.
I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Stephen Gates, our new music theory instructor. He's already revamped and shaken up our program, so it's progress is on the way. And Zach Matthews could not be here this evening, so.
Dr. Finkenbeiner, Social Sciences.
If he was here instead of teaching, I would be my distinct pleasure to introduce Dr. Richard Randall, our new psychologist.
Thank you. Finally, Mr. Footner from Visual Arts.
Good evening, everybody. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce 1.5 new faculty members. This is Ms. Sylvia Rigon, who's teaching in our design area. Thank you very much.
So you have it, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Vice President Jacobs. I know on behalf of all of us in the administration, we wish each one of our new colleagues great good luck, and anything that we can do to help and support you in the service of our students, just let us know. President Thomson.
Good. We will now adjourn for a brief reception. Some new contraptions up here, and I thought we might take maybe a few moments and ask Dr. Van Pelt to kind of walk us through how these things work and make sure that we don't press the wrong button at the wrong time. So,
You got that right.
The opportunity is for the votes to occur by the yes button, which will light up green. The no button will be red. The abstain button is the yellow. And you have to turn the buttons off. Alex, you got to turn the other buttons off. And then the white is to be recognized, so it's raising your hand.
That's good.
And then the projectors, the monitors on the desk can be retracted so that they can turn flat. You can put things on top, or then they can be upright, such as they are here. Designed and built in-house.
Fantastic. All right.
Thank you, Rick.
Any questions about how this equipment operates? Okay, then let's, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes, our meeting of August the 3rd of this year. Are there any additions, corrections, questions about the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second. Been moved by Dr. Fellow and seconded by Ms. Waugh. Approve the minutes of the August 3rd, 2011 meeting. If you want to vote yes, press your Y. If you want to vote no, do the other. A unanimous vote, including the advisory vote. Okay. The next, we move now to...
Out here early.
I think that's probably Dr. Van Pelt's motive. Dr. Rocha.
Van Pelt, these are permanently attached?
They actually can lift up.
Oh, you can move them? Okay, good.
Next to announcements and recognition, Board of Trustees. Ms. Brown, anything to report?
No report at this time.
Dr. Mann?
Nothing to report?
Mr. Martin?
None, thank you.
Mr. Baum?
I have one quick introduction I'd like to make.
Okay.
I'd like to recognize a colleague of mine from USC, Giovanna Carrera, from the Annenberg School, who is also enrolled in the the doctoral program in educational leadership at the Rocha School of Education at USC, and is studying educational leadership and board leadership, and so she decided to attend today's meeting and learn some great lessons that she'll take to the classroom at USC.
Welcome. It's good to have you with us. Thank you. Mr. Soto?
No reports.
Dr. Fellow?
Yes, two items. I'm on sabbatical, so I get to go to some things now. I'm supposed to be doing research, but I get to be away.
I understand you're actually getting paid for the sabbatical,
Yes,
too?
you get paid, yeah. It's very wonderful. Now I want to retire. But I was able to attend, because of that, the breakfast meeting of new faculty. That was very nice, Mr. President. You did a great job. And also, it was a pleasure to attend the Associated Students meeting last week. I like to be with the students, and I was very impressed with the president and the way she conducts meetings. It's better than some of my faculty do. And so it was very nice, and thank you. And also went to the ice cream social the president had. That was nice, too.
Ice cream social.
Check it out.
Ms. Waugh?
Yeah, I also wanted to acknowledge the Associated Student Body, Ashley and Alex, who invited me to attend the meeting, and I also felt that they were very professionally handled. And I was also very impressed that they were all using laptops instead of paper agendas and board packages, and I thought maybe that was a great example for us to look at and to follow.
Hear, hear.
So, yeah, yeah, let's press our green button. And then I also had a chance, and I wanted to thank Al Hutchings and Dr. Van Pelt for inviting me to attend the evening custodians meeting, just to introduce myself and to say hello to them. And it was really great, and they really want to just extend that invitation to all the trustees. And it's just, I think a great way for us to express, how grateful we are for the job they do, and probably a group that we don't often see. I also had a chance to attend the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the South Pasadena Middle School. So they just built their new library building and some new buildings, and very state-of-the-art, and had a chance to talk to the PTSAs, and they're really very excited about building connections with PCC and getting some early connections to learn about how they get their kids on the college track. So I think it's a great opportunity for us. And then I also had a chance to meet with A Noise Within, which is a new theater that's opening here in Pasadena. Great theater, wonderful productions, and they have a whole educational group, and they would really love to connect with PCC, and they are offering tickets to our professors and to our students, and a chance to just connect on the arts field. So I thought that was a great opportunity for us also.
Excellent. Just quickly, in the Pasadena newspaper a couple of days ago, there was an article saying PCC tops community colleges in fundraising, and talks about the work that the foundation has been doing. $1.8 million will go to scholarships for needy students. So Mount SAC is also mentioned in this, but it's good to see PCC being recognized for tremendous work. So with that, let me move now to
Mr. Thompson, I did have an announcement. I forgot. That's why I have my light on.
Oh.
In fact, I have two, but I'll make them very quickly. I attended Photo Finish, the special session where we were offering registration to in-district students, and talked to some of the students and talked to their parents. And everyone was very, very pleased. I think it went very well. They were very happy. One student said, "Why wouldn't we love it? We're sitting here in this nice, cool library, and we have classes guaranteed, and those other kids are out there in a long line." And the other thing was, today I attended the PCC PTSA lunch. They have new officers, and they're busy planning their honors, the programs they do for our students, and I think Honors at Entrance is one of them.
Good. Okay. Dr. Rocha?
Yes, thank you, President Thomson, and I do, on behalf of everyone inside the college, want to thank all of the members of the Board of Trustees for their attendance and support at so many of the events that have started this academic year. It is noticed, and it is deeply appreciated by all of us. We have a couple of items. Well, the first item is turn it over to Vice President Miller. We have the announcement of a grant from our friends from the Verizon Foundation.
Thank you, President Rocha. I'm going to ask Nancy Roberts to quickly introduce this award. Thank you.
I'm Nancy Roberts. I'm the grant specialist for the college, and I have with me Joy Britton, the project director for Math Science Upward Bound. And we're here to introduce our special guest this evening, Gary George, who is Director of Government and External Affairs for Verizon California. And he's here to present a grant award from the Verizon Foundation to our foundation in support of the Engineering Innovations Project in the Math Science Upward Bound program. And for those of you who don't know, Gary is also a member and immediate past president of the Chaffey College Governing Board. So without further ado, Gary.
Well, she stole everything I was going to say, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. The important part's coming up. As she mentioned, I am, well, first of all, President Thomson, governing board members, and President Rocha. It's my pleasure to be here this evening. I am Gary George, Director of Government and External Affairs for Verizon, and also a Chaffey College governing board member. And really appreciated listening to all of your football scores and all of the, all the good things that are going on here. And I will write those down and talk about them at our board meeting in a couple of weeks. As you can probably tell, I mean, I have a love of education. I've always had a love of education. I graduated from Rio Hondo Community College, and I like to tell the story that when I attended Rio Hondo, I started at the Little Lake campus when it was in Santa Fe Springs before they moved up onto the hill. That was a few years ago, and so I've always had this deep-seated feeling for community college, then junior colleges, community colleges, and that's carried on to luckily to the position I have now with Verizon, not only government external affairs, but I'm also the foundation coordinator for the area. And what we look for are partnerships. There's a number of tenets that we have, but partnerships in education, especially STEM education and engineering. And the check that I'm going to present tonight to Nancy and Joy and whoever, is because of the, well, I'll tell you the amount. Well, I'll tell you that. It's a check for $16,000. And it's for a professor and a fellow that are going to present these this class in a summer session. And we read the grant. We've been working on this for a couple of years now to try to find the funding for it, and we did find it this year because it's an excellent grant, well written, and so it's my pleasure to be able to bring it forth this time. I would also like to comment on the fact that you heard that I'm with Chaffey, and it was a pleasure seeing Dr. Bell here this evening. Your gain, our loss. Dr. Bell was phenomenal when he was at Chaffey, and we miss him. We sorely miss him, but we wish him well here at Pasadena City College. Anyway, I'd like to do the check presentation now, if you want to.
Yeah, why don't you go on up to Mr. Thompson and the President.
Why don't we?
And I'll get a picture right up here.
Why don't we call everybody up, and so, because there is kind of a team effort, and ask you to come around, and we'll take a photo with Bill.
When he says everybody come up here.
Everybody hit the green light.
Actually, that's the check. Thank you so much.
I don't do big checks.
Oh, no, big check. That's right.
Sure, you can.
Good job.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes.
We are very grateful to Verizon for the award and for your confidence, and we will work our hardest to merit your confidence. And we've got great people in this program. We're so glad that we got Nancy out of the darkness for a moment. We have her in there in the shop writing grants all over the place, and Joy, of course, with Upward Bound. So thank you so much, and really means a lot to our faculty and students in this program.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Very good.
And I'd like to say this is
Baum, I
the first
think,
time
was-
I've been able to leave a board meeting early.
I just wanted to say one thing really quickly, too. It's a few years ago, the district entered into a long-term partnership with Verizon when we did a complete makeover of our information infrastructure. And at the time, I really want to take my hat off to the staff, because in that partnership with rebuilding our information infrastructure, we also were aware that Verizon also engages in philanthropic efforts, and I asked that we look into extending that partnership for the benefit of our students in that way, and for the staff to have continued this effort, Dean Miller and Rick and others, to find a way in a program that falls within the funding priorities of the Verizon Foundation is really a testament to the hard work of our grants team and others. So I wanted to acknowledge that and say we're delighted to see this other step in our partnership with Verizon. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and it was a very well written grant. That's why why we funded it. So, thank you.
Great. Next, President Thomson, from engineering to mathematics, engineering, science achievement, and I'd like to introduce Dean Dave Douglas, who will make a brief recognition of this great program.
Yeah, and of course, I'm going to pass the buck as soon as possible, too. But I just want to point out that we're all familiar with our educational master plan, and right there on page 2 are student success achievement areas. And one of those is associate STEM degree awards. And we know from our research that one of the things that helps students recruit students into STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math, and helps them stay in STEM fields is the opportunity to do undergraduate research. And so I'd like to introduce our MESA Program Director, Melva Alvarez, to let you get to know some of the students that participated in undergraduate research this summer.
Yay, Melva.
Good evening, everybody. Melva Alvarez, the director, what are we calling it? The program specialist.
Program specialist.
Yeah, director for the state. But
Exactly.
I'm actually here and very honored to be here with some of our wonderful students that did participate in the summer internships this year. And as I call out the internships, if they can raise their hand, a lot of them are in class or have transferred. But for the Southern California Earthquake Center, interdisciplinary work around earthquakes was Mary McClellan, Sam Reed, raise your hand if I call your name, Tatif Papikian, and Ernesto Jimenez. For Oak Crest Institute here in Pasadena, studying things like isoprenes and, what did you study? Microbio, is Natalie DeVries, Jonathan Rojas, Kumar Denby, Hinal Shah. Studying at Cal State LA's REUs this summer was Bridget Spencer, Nick McKay, and Alice Herrera. Studying for the National Institute of Health at USC Medical Campus, studying prostate cancer was Brittany Ulloa. Cameron White, who is also on our AS, was at Carnegie Observatories and is also a NASA Must Scholar, winning a $10,000 scholarship. Hoda Ahmed was at UCLA studying neuroscience. Hector Alvarez was at Barlow Respiratory Hospital. Aaron Castellano was a grant winner for Tia Chucha's Community Center, working on their STEM program with youth. And we also had students like Jose Cruz, Carla Gonzalez, and Tony Coy working here in our summer bridge programs, helping our students learn math. And I did hand you guys a folder, and inside the folder you'll see, on your left, you'll see the different internships that some of our students participated in, and some of the different programs and events that helped them achieve those internships. And on the right side, you'll see some sheets. And one of those sheets has the amount that we were able to leverage with the small budget that MESA has. This year, we were able to leverage $166,575 in internships and scholarships for these students here at Pasadena City College. And we really implore everybody here, if you have any information about internships or scholarships for our students, please bring them to our attention. We have qualified students here at PCC that have done them, need to do them every summer. Most of these students are low-income students, and we really appreciate the support that we get from the trustees and from everybody here at PCC. So thank you so much for your help. And there's a lanyard in there. Please wear it with pride. I have mine on. And come by the Mesa Center anytime. And, always Vice President Robert Miller is a great supporter. He's my boss, and I really appreciate his support, and so do the students. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Those, and I'm very, very grateful and commend the students. Thanks for taking the time to come over, and you make us very, very proud. We're going to move on, President Thomson and members of the board, to an informative on the Associated Students Board student fee policy revision. We've been hard at work under the leadership of Vice President Bell to arrive at an agreement on the student fee this year. The memo for that is in your packet, and so I'll turn it over to Dr. Bell to explain what you have, and we'll go from there. Dr. Bell.
Well, thank you, Dr. Rocha. And ladies and gentlemen, members of the board, before I begin, I feel obligated to say that those comments from Mr. George, while appreciated, they were totally unsolicited, so I had nothing to do. Ladies, members of the board, as President Rocha indicated, there is a memorandum in your packet, which pretty much summarizes the discussions that were had recently regarding the Associated Students' view of adopting the full cost of the Metro ITEP program under this college's student services fee. And as you'll see, there's two areas that were covered there real briefly. One was a discussion that was held among the Board of Directors for the Student Services Fund on August 23rd, where a change to the procedure was introduced and agreed upon. I will make one quick correction. Procedure ID indicates that the Student Services Fund will fund up to 100% of the Metro IPASS. That should read ITAP. I apologize for that error. And secondly, a follow-up meeting which was held by our Associated Students where they also endorsed and approved adopting 100%, up to 100% of the cost of this program. So it was well vetted, well discussed. I am very comfortable that the students fully understand their obligation under this and completely endorse it and are ready to go forward with this. I'll hand it over now to our Associated President, Ashley Jackson, and she can expand on that for you.
Well, I actually think Dr. Bell pretty much hit the nail on the head, but just to sort of reedify everything that he said, Associated students did discuss with Dr. Bell and President Rocha the Metro ITAP program and how we could protect the program ultimately because it does benefit a great number of students on our campus. And ultimately, we came to the conclusion that as Associated students, we would support the absorption of up to 100% of the ITAP program into the student activity fee because from last week alone, it over 1,000 students started buying it. So clearly, it helps a lot of students. It helps sustainability. It really benefits everyone at large. So as Associated students, we definitely approve of it and support it.
Great.
Mr. Baum?
I just want to express my appreciation to Dr. Rocha and Dr. Bell and the students for finding a great solution to this issue. And now that this has been agreed to, we know that this program will be in place for the spring semester, and I know that the students have wanted to have the opportunity to make it part of registration, that you can buy your ITAP pass when you initially register, then rather than have to go to a separate process of then purchasing it. So now I think this will ensure that this program is preserved at least through the academic year. And then I want to extend my appreciation for everybody's work in coming up with a way to distribute these funds, because as we've talked about, there's over $800,000 of funds that are raised from students, and so I'm looking forward to seeing how the allocations go and how we can show how they enhance the life of students at PCC across the board academically and in an extracurricular way as well. So my hat's off to everybody for getting this agreement.
Ms. Wong?
I also wanted to just congratulate you and to thank you all for coming out with a great solution. And I just wanted to say that I had a chance to talk to some of the Area 5 parents and students about the activity fee and the IPASS, and all of them were very supportive of it. So I think this is a really great solution for everyone.
Okay, any other comments on that? Thank you very much, Mr. Bell. Dr. Bell, well done. Ms. Jackson, thank you. Okay. Executive committee reports.
Yes, thank you, President Thomson. I ask permission of the board for each member, since this is a newly formed executive committee, and we're here in now the second week of the academic semester. I asked each member of the executive committee to prepare a brief. I said 60 seconds, but they said 90 seconds, and so we were already disagreeing in our first meeting. But to prepare a very brief summary assessment of how things look to each one of them as they come in and take on their new duties. So I am appreciative for the board for this time, and with that, I'll turn to Vice President Van Pelt.
Thank you. And I did want to highlight sort of what we did over the summertime. In facilities services, there's a joke that goes along the lines of there are two really busy times of the year, when students are here and when they're not. And this was an incredibly busy summer. So just to highlight what occurred, computing services moved to the library, management information system moved to the library, and all these involved a lot of work in terms of redo and remodeling and construction and so forth. Upward Bound moved to the D building. Public Relations moved to the C building. Media Services moved to the second floor of the library. Educational Services, we had to create a home for. iPro moved to Educational Services. Career and Technical Education moved to iPro. Student Lab was moved from the D building to the W building. Student Health Center was created in the D building. Then, of course, the Student Health Center had to be moved from the U to the D. Human Resources had to be remodeled. Exercise room was moved into the W102, the former women's gym. Spinning class moved to the GM building in order to create a new student lab in the W building, and a new adjunct lab was created in the W building as well. The equipment room in the gym was remodeled. 8 portables were installed at CEC, and then Health Sciences moved to the Community Education Center. And that's along with hundreds of small and routine projects, and of course the Center for the Arts. If anybody's seen what it looks like today, a lot of the steel work is up, and you can now see the shape of a big chunk of the building. So that's what we did over the summer.
What do you do in your spare time?
Budget.
That's right. That comes later. Vice President Cable.
Well, good evening. This is day 13 for me. My first 2 weeks have been really filled with literally dozens of meetings, meeting with students, faculty, staff, administrators, even with a host of vendors and contractors that we've been doing business with over the years. I've also spent some time during this 2 weeks to really look within the IT organization, some of the issues, technical issues that what we need to address as we kind of move forward. I certainly want to reassure the board that the list is getting long, and there have been a few moments where there were some wow days, but you know that's to be expected, and I'm very encouraged by the things that we're able to do. I certainly have appreciated the entire institution has been very welcoming in all respects, making me feel very much at home. I certainly look forward at some time to get my family here. As I'm kind of wrapping up my first rounds of meetings, I will be pulling together a number of strategy issues and bringing those forward to the executive committee, and then obviously then on for further discussion here. But I have certainly, I just think that while some may think that after 2 weeks, I still am very excited to be here, and I think there's a lot of wonderful things we're going to be able to do over the coming years. So that's my report.
Thank you. Thank you. And, let me go to General Counsel Cooper.
Thank you. President Thomson and governing members of the board, it is truly my pleasure to be here speaking to you as your General Counsel. In my 3 weeks here, I have already been challenged so many times by a host of matters that have varied in such range, calling on everything in law I've ever learned. But what I can tell you is it has really shown me the dynamic of the administration and the faculty and the students and the bargaining units at PCC, and I'm very proud to be part of it. So far, with my goal to ensure a safe, positive, supportive learning environment for our students and for our a working environment for our employees, I have been working on working with our police force to develop safety precautions for our students who are minors and not high school graduates who are here on campus at night, working with faculty, staff, and our third-party administrator to enable student activities and programs to continue safely, working with staff and loss control personnel to minimize risk of injury. And the big surprise to me was when I was called upon to call Washington Homeland Security because our F1 visa students, those are our non-immigrant students, were being barred from admission to CEC when our health sciences program was moved there, contemplating demolition of the U building. And immigration told us at the very last possible moment, 2 days before instruction was to commence, that it had to have separate certification from Homeland Security, and it would, it would take months. So a call to Washington and going up the levels until I got a yes, got us emergency certification, and I was very, very happy to achieve that result. For our employees, in addition to working with the bargaining units, or at least starting to, and learning about the people who are running those, and employee issues, my immediate focus has been on trying to develop more open lines of communication with them so that conflicts can be better resolved, because after all, that ultimately contribute to the success of our students and achieving our educational master plan. Again, I thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm very proud to be part of it.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
To Vice President Lastimado.
Thank you, Dr. Rocha. First, I want to thank the board for allowing me to be part of the PCC family. I also appreciated the warm welcome from several of the employees. These past 2.5 weeks have been very exciting. It felt like the first time I caught my first 20-foot wave in Hawaii. I mean, it was really exhilarating, We've already started working on some HR systems and programs that are to contribute to the educational master plan while simultaneously working with counselor here on several legal matters. For example, through the shared governance process, I'm working with some staff and faculty on developing a PCC comprehensive professional development program. I'm also establishing an HR advisory committee to assist me in ensuring HR is a major contributor to the EMP. HR is a major contributor in causing PCC to be the employer of choice of all community colleges. And HR not only increases customer satisfaction, but also streamline HR processes to maximize output and cost effectiveness. On the labor relations side, I'll be working with issue president regarding the re-engineering of the white-collar workers. And again, I'm sincerely happy to be here, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ben. Vice President Bell.
Well, thank you, Dr. Rocha. And ladies and gentlemen, let me echo the comments of my colleagues. I am extremely honored and privileged to have been appointed to this position, and I appreciate the confidence that you've conveyed in me in doing that. I guess I'm the seasoned veteran because I've been here over a month, so I have more time on task than these other guys, with the exception of my esteemed colleagues who have been here a lot longer. I've had the opportunity to meet with a lot of faculty and staff, both within the Student Learning Services Division and outside of it, and one of the things that has been continually reinforced for me is that we have an outstanding group of faculty and staff who work every day very diligently and very hard to serve students and promote student success. A couple of things we looked at initially that we're going to look at within the Student Learning Services Division. One will be to advance and enhance the use of technology for our students. We're going to look to try to promote access for students to services, with more of that being online than to have them stand in line, if you will. That's one of our key strategic goals. And towards that end, we've reinitiated discussions with SunGuard targeted toward getting our Degree Works program implemented, and our target goal now is to have that up and operational for students by the beginning of the fall 2012 semester. And another thing we're looking at, and Trustee Mann mentioned it briefly, is moving forward on our guarantee under the Educational Master Plan to guarantee enrollment for our in-district high school graduates. We did that briefly in a program that we call Photo Finish Friday, and as I said, it has nothing to do with standing near the racetrack. It has to do with the fact that we planned this really very quickly on the fly, and I was very pleased with the way it came out. We were able to meet with 123 of our region high school graduates, have them come to campus, and we placed them in math and English classes consistent with their assessment placements. And as we all know, for any of our students coming in, to be able to get into math and English and begin that sequence early is key for their success. What we'll do is we'll look at the successes from there and what we need to do to improve, and we're going to expand on that and offer it to our high school students as part of our general outreach to all of our high school seniors this coming spring. So again, it is a privilege for me to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to present this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Vice President Miller.
Thank you, President Rocha. One of the first things that the Educational Services team did, and what we're doing right now, is we're sort of, since we're sort of the new area in the college, is we're basically pulling ourselves together and organizing ourselves. So I thought I would just take a minute and let the board know and inform the audience here just exactly what Educational Services is all about. Our first and key mission is institutional effectiveness. And in that regard, we're responsible for maintaining the Educational Master Plan, our Planning and Research Office, and the accreditation process as part of our institutional effectiveness mission. We are also shepherding and supporting the shared governance process. We continue in the role of supporting the curriculum instruction. We are actively engaged in a new and dynamic approach to enrollment management. Online education and the growth and shepherding of that process is part of our organization and what we do. We have a number of support educational programs, and I'm very proud to say that we support. Our Teaching and Learning Center, you saw tonight Melva Alvarez in action as our MESA program specialist. We support the Study Abroad program, the Scholars program, and our ongoing high school bridge. And then three functions that I'm very excited about are what we call our new revenue enhancement opportunities. Again, an Educational Master Plan goal, and that's in the area of extension, which we now call extended learning, corporate education, economic development, and finally grants, and to try to build that out. Beyond that, I am proud to say that I am a member of Team 1, the teaching and learning team, Dr. Jacobs, Dr. Bell, and myself, and we have already begun our meetings and started that process of the three of us and the teams that we represent supporting teaching and learning. We are busily at work in our accreditation midterm report that is due March 15th of 2012. We are actively engaged in our program review and institutional effectiveness committee activities. We are working on our educational services area and tactical plans, getting the College Council and shared governance process up to date. There's a brief report on the redistricting effort that is in your folders tonight. And finally, I'll have an enrollment management report to you very soon in the meeting. So a lot going on. And as my colleagues have said, I am truly grateful for the opportunity to lead such a fine group of people.
Thank you, Bob. And I left last, but certainly not least, I say with high regard and affection, the elder stateswoman of the executive team, the Vice President of Instruction, Dr. Jacqueline Jacobs.
Thank you, President Rocha. In terms of academic affairs and instruction, we have started the fall in great stead, I would say, in good spirits, and we started off on August the 22nd with new faculty orientation. You saw faculty tonight. And on our August the 26th, we had a welcome day where we had over 1,500 freshmen to attend. And some of you came, and we want to thank you, and we hope others will be able to come next year. The major areas that we are continuing with are looking into or started already in instruction. The teacher prep, we're focusing on today's student and how to help them be successful. We're all reading what good teachers do. The orientation for new faculty will continue throughout the fall semester. In basic skills, we're focusing on campus-wide efforts to strengthen the first-year experience, reading, writing, and math across the curriculum. In career and technical education, we're looking at workforce development, getting people ready for the job market, labor market, and completion of programs and certificates. In community education, we're continuing with the apprenticeship program that we have started and continue to work with the Flint Ridge organization and Jaylene Mosley. We continue with the community foster care and youth emancipation program and parenting programs in the community. Also, we're providing pathways from CEC to the main campus here in Colorado. All divisions are focusing on green technology and sustainability in relation to the various disciplines. Grants and partnering opportunities such as our Power and Water Academy with the city of Pasadena. The biotech programs will continue, and we're partnering with district schools and with colleges.
Great. I thank all of my colleagues for this report and for this great start. They already have wonderful accomplishments, and we report to you, President Thomson, and members of the board, that we've started the academic year well. So that's my report.
Certainly sounds like we're off to an excellent beginning, so we appreciate that, and thank you all very much for what you've contributed already. Let's go around now to shared governance. Ashley, anything further?
Great. Okay. Well, actually, Associated Students has gotten to a great start. Last week was Week of Welcome, so we welcomed new and continuing students back to the campus, and we let them know of what services and information was available to them, how they can get more involved in student life, and if they got lost at classes, we helped them out in that way, and we really got a great response from a lot of students, which was wonderful. And this week is actually Club Week, so all along the quad, some of you might have seen, we have all of the clubs on campus tabling out and letting students know what's happening, and we're also tabling as well, just to sort of show our support as well as help students out in any way that we can. And that's it.
Good. Thank you very much. Ms. Barkson, report.
Hello, good evening. This is my first meeting here as a Senate representative for the Board of Trustees. So I'd like to introduce myself. I've been at PCC for 20 years. Last 15 years I've worked for Sherry Hassan in business services, and I'm pleased to say that I am now working with Gail Cooper, our general counsel. And we did have a classified Senate meeting this morning, and we are continuing our preparation for our annual retreat, which is an all-day affair on September 23rd at the Huntington Library. Also, it was announced that Dan Haley from the Academic Senate will be the representative to our classified Senate. And lastly, I'm happy to say that Dr. Mann paid a visit to our Senate meeting this morning to talk about the upcoming election. And even though the Senate cannot endorse any candidate, it was very nice to have Dr. Mann come to our meeting. And having said that, the Senate would like to extend an invitation to all the trustees to come to any of our classified Senate meetings, which typically meet on the first and third Wednesday of the month. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martinez?
I just have two items. The first one, I'm pleased to report that the Chancellor's Office has approved 2 of PCC's proposed SB 1440 associate degrees, the AAT in psychology and the AAT in sociology. 2 other proposed degrees, communications and math, remain on hold pending the resolution of some technical issues. And our C&I committee has already scheduled votes on several more SB 1440 majors during the fall semester, and so I expect to present those majors for your approval sometime in the middle of the fall. The second item is that our annual Academic Senate retreat is scheduled for this Saturday, September the 10th, the same day as your own retreat. I won't be there, but Senate Vice President Dustin Hanvey will be there to participate with you.
Good, thank you. Dr. Douglas?
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. The Management Association is back, regrouped, and getting to know our new leadership and our new vice presidents in some cases. We'll have our first board meeting next week, and we'll have our general meeting in 2 weeks on Monday, the 19th. And we'll have some information to report after that. Thank you.
Very good. The next item on the agenda is public comment on non-agenda items. Is there anyone wishing to address the board on a non-agenda item? None appearing. Let's move to approval of the consent items. We have a request for one person to speak on consent item 24P, so I would suggest we pull that one and deal with that one separately. Is there any other items, consent items, to be dealt with separately? Dr. Mann?
Yes, I'd like to deal with 42B separately.
42B.
42B is in boy.
Ms. Wah?
I have a question on 23P.
Okay.
23.
Anything else? Mr. Baum?
I just have a couple of questions, but not pulled for separate vote, on 31B, 35B, 41B, and 22P.
Okay, let's, any others to be for questions? Let's take them. Ms. Wah, why don't you ask your question then?
I guess I had a question on, there was just a line item for reimbursement for applicants coming for interview. And so I just want to know, is the policy that anyone who comes out of state, or is it just certain positions? So I guess it's directed probably at Dr. Lastimado.
And what is the question, Trustee Wah?
Oh, I just wanted, oh, I'm sorry. Did I ask that wrong?
No. I'm just trying to track your item.
Just remind us what board report number it is.
Yeah, we don't know.
Item 23P.
Okay, if we can go to item 23P. This is, I think, Trustee Wah's question has to do with the reimbursement of this individual for coming to interview. And so the question is, if I had it correctly, is this something we do for all applicants, or is this something that we've done just in this particular case, and for what reason? Is that fair?
Right, so basically what's the criteria? When do we make that decision? Or is it just for certain positions? Is it when they come out of state?
In this case, do we know Maisie Brewington, Vice President Jacobs?
Yes, we do it for all if they come for the second. The first level, we don't. If they invite it back for the second, then we do it for all within.
So I assume this was someone who wasn't local?
No, she was from up north, I believe.
Okay, and is it done for all levels of positions or just certain levels of positions?
It's my understanding it's done for all levels.
Okay,
I know
thank
it's
you.
done for faculty and.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Dr. Mann first, or you wanted to deal with separately, or do you
Well,
have a question?
no, we don't have to have a separate vote. I could just comment
Okay.
on 42B. I find it here. I just wanted to, excuse me for a second. Particularly, I think this is really appropriate since we had the students in Mesa and the grant for STEM. This is for paying for the dues for institutional membership with the AAUW, which, if you notice, is not a very large amount. And the AAUW was the group who initiated our Science for Girls Day, which has become, I think, very successful. We have several hundred middle school girls from the district who come and they spend the day with scientists in actually in doing lab work and so on. What I wanted to point out is there are 4 local AAUW chapters who are planning an event in early November to celebrate an anniversary. I can't remember which one, but it's a big anniversary for them. And each chapter presents a program that they focus on, and the Pasadena chapter is focusing on the Science Day for Girls. So this is they regard it as very important. I think it's also very important for us.
Good, thank you. Mr. Baum?
Okay, we'll start at 31B. Really quickly, there's 2 items. And again, I don't have, it's not that I'm questioning the items, but I just would want more information, and I don't want to spend a lot of time here on it. The one is there's a couple of items related to the district's first-year experience project, and so at some point I'd like a report to the board on that. There are a couple of contracts related to that, some honoraria and other guest speakers. And then the work of the PIRUS group for management training. 2, we're expanding that contract, and at some point I'd love to have a report back to the board as to how we used it and who was able to participate in a less formal way, but we don't need to do that here.
Right, and we do have the information, Trustee Baum, and I'll leave it to Vice President Miller to prepare a formal report for the next board meeting, if that's acceptable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The next one was 35B, the purchasing transactions. And there's a lot of transactions here, obviously, to digest. It comes to about $4.7 million. But two of them were related to Blackboard, and I saw two separate purchases of Blackboard licenses. And I wasn't sure, does one Blackboard license cover our whole district, or do we have to get multiple licenses?
Yeah, again, it's a very, very good question, and this is in the transition, of IT and online from kind of the group committee of Rick and Bob to Vice President Cable. But Vice President Miller has the answer.
Yes, thank you, President Rocha, Mr. Baum. The first is for the actual site license. We run our site license through the Foundation for the California Community Colleges and receive a good discount, if you will, from Blackboard for doing that. And the second has to do with the applications that we use for what we call our hosting, our off-site hosting service. It's called an active service provider, again provided by Blackboard. So we host that off campus. And in addition to that, we have our new mobile learn application, which will be allowing us in the very, very near future, like the next few weeks, so that students on their tablets or their mobile devices or what have you can start doing their Blackboard assignments and referencing Blackboard information on that. So those are two separate license agreements. Again, one's for the license, one is for other applications that Blackboard provides.
Yeah, great. That's all I wanted to cover with that.
Thank you. And of course, Vice President Cable will be bringing forward a number of reports and recommendations in the coming months. So, thank you.
The next one was 41B, and it's a remarkable collection of sculptures that we're receiving on behalf of the district, including some noted sculptures that Peggy Phelps has donated by Noguchi and others. We have a sculpture garden. Some of these don't seem large enough to put in the sculpture garden, but will any of these make their way to our sculpture garden? And
Yes.
And what are we going to do with all these sculptures?
Yes, we even brought, I think, some of the photos. But Vice President Van Pelt has been on top of this. This is if you will, a reception item, and but I'll let Vice President Van Pelt explicate.
Thank you. I think that the Sculpture Garden Committee on the campus will come forward and recommend for the Sculpture Garden will be the last one, the Kenneth Price piece. Apparently a very noteworthy piece. A lot of these, I will also point out.
I'm sorry, which one did you say?
Kenneth Price, the very last one on the second page.
And
I'll also point out that a number of these we have received a while ago. So you'll see, for instance, the one at the Child Development Center for the signage. But what we discovered, and Anna Mae Jones was going through the records and discovered that we had not actually come to the board to receive these pieces. So this is sort of a cleanup item of bringing all these sculptures to into the proper format.
And we'll be retaining all of them?
Yes.
Or will some of them be?
We'll be retaining all of them.
Okay, great. And then lastly, I just wanted to note on 22P, the appointment, I think she's in the audience, Lynn Miller, which is a real Lynn Wright, a distinction for the district again, that she's again assuming the position of statewide project director for the Basic Skills Initiative, and she's exhibited extraordinary leadership on the state on basic skills, and I'm delighted that she's able to do that again and that we're able to facilitate that because it's such an important need, and you've done amazing work for our district and for the state. So that's something that I caught. Yeah.
You're here. Thank you, Lynn, and a fellow Trojan. We were classmates at USC.
Oh, my goodness.
We won't hold that against her. While we're on this, I have a question on 35B. We pay Pasadena Municipal Services well over $2 million in Southern California Gas Company, almost $500,000. Do we get any type of a discount for either of these since they're municipalities and...
Yes, we're prepared, Vice President.
The rate structure is determined by the Pasadena City Council. However, we have a remarkable relationship with Pasadena Water and Power, and we're right now working on something better than $750,000 back in a rebate. So we've consistently gotten very large rebates anytime we do a project from Pasadena Water and Power.
How about Southern California Gas Company?
Southern California Gas Company have also been very helpful in anything that we do. Anytime we come forward, for instance, with our turbine projects, they're very helpful, and they help to fund through rebate our programs and projects.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve everything except item
24P?
24P. I'll hold that for just a moment.
Move approval.
Been moved by Trustee Brown, seconded by Trustee Waugh. All in favor, push your green buttons. Unanimous vote, including advisory vote. Okay. Now, on the item 24P, Anna Mae Jones has asked to address the board. So, Anna Mae, welcome.
Thank you, President Thomson, members of the board, Dr. Rocha, members of the administration. My name is Anna Mae Jones, President of ISSUE. I'm here to speak tonight on consent item 24P, item number 7. As a prefatory matter, I want to emphasize and state without equivocation that ISSUE's objections are not, as Dr. Mann noted a couple of meetings ago on another item, based on people. Rather, the objections are grounded on two matters. A, the district has designated a brand new classified position as confidential before finishing an ongoing process with ISSUE on the same subject, which I'll elaborate on in a minute. And B, the district has failed to follow procedure number 6200.20 in establishing and attempting to fill this new position. First, you should be aware that ISSUE and the district and our respective legal counsels have engaged in discussion since last fall on the topic of confidential designations and ISSUE's concerns regarding the district's non-compliance with Government Code Section 3562, subsection E, which codifies the legal requirements for classified employees eligible to receive a confidential designation. On February 1, 2011, ISSUE's legal counsel received an email from an associate at Lieber Cassidy Whitmore, which stated, quote, "This email is a brief update of the current status of how the district intends to proceed. Human Resources will be advising Dr. Rocha of its position that the following employees should no longer be designated as confidential," end quote. And then it goes on to list 4 names that I'm not going to state here in public. This process is not yet finished because ISSUE and the district cannot agree on one outstanding point, where on the ISSUE salary schedule the incoming misdesignated employees should be placed. Thus, the designation of a brand new position as confidential is premature and not well taken, and frankly disrespectful of the unfinished process ISSUE and the district are still engaged in. Second, and perhaps even more importantly, the district procedures outlined under 6200.20 governing interim and acting appointments for classified personnel have not been followed for this position. The only 2 caveats which permit the district to proceed without following these procedures are A, an emergency appointment, that is B, short term. In our discussions this week, ISSUE has heard the district assert that since these 2 terms are not specifically defined in the policies or procedures, the administration has the sole purview to define them to their choosing. ISSUE does not concur with that assessment. Through extensive conversations with Dr. Lastimado today, ISSUE understands the district further asserts through the utilization of, quote, management rights, end quote, that it may establish any classified position at any time, call it anything it wants, fill it with any employee it desires, all without any consultative process with our bargaining unit. However, ISSUE reminds this board that the ISSUE contract, Article 5, first sentence, contains specific language limiting the district's ability to utilize these rights. ISSUE sincerely hopes the district will review this contract language. There is no carte blanche. ISSUE also asked the district for the job description for this new position. Nothing was provided. Therefore, ISSUE fails to understand, when a job description has not yet been devised, how the district can fill this position on an interim basis this evening and then turn around and fly the position again on an interim basis, quote, this week, as was stated in an email by the administration today. Issue considers this attempt to obviate our concerns on the 6200.20 procedure deficiencies to be an insufficient remedy. The district also told Issue that when the position was reflown, it would remain a confidential position, which of course leads us right back to Issue's original concern. It is a circle without end. As a point of reference on whether classified administrative support in the information technology area should receive a confidential designation, Issue personally inquired this morning of several of the other local community colleges. Of the colleges Issue was able to reach, not one had a confidential designation for a similarly situated position. Hiring policies and procedures are in place for a reason, to ensure everyone, yes, even the members of the Issue bargaining unit, have a level and fair playing field to work with. If these policies or procedures are not well written or unduly burdensome for the administration, they should be revised and redisseminated. For the moment, however, they are the rule of the land and should be followed without deviation. In conclusion, Issue requests the board direct the administration to work with Issue in a spirit of collegiality to wrap up the single remaining obstacle to finishing the ongoing process on misdesignated confidential employees, as well as ensuring adherence to district procedures for post and fills of classified positions. Tonight, this board has the opportunity to provide assurance to Issue unit members that this district is committed to a classified hiring process which all parties deem to be fair, equitable, and fully transparent. Our unit members are watching and waiting for your signal. Issue strongly urges the board to not take action this evening on this new classified position. Thank you.
Dr. Rocha, any comments?
Except to thank Anna Mae for her input. I have no comment. Vice President Lastamato has rightly recommended the matter, and it's before the board.
Do we have any?
I would say in common sense, plain English, okay, I would say the employee in question is not a member of the Issue unit, first of all. The employee in question was a confidential, designated confidential, working in the foundation office, and we determined, as we may, that because Vice President Cable had no support, that we were in an emergency situation, and we transferred Joellen McGrath from one office to another, which again, Council and Vice President Lastamato determined is totally applicable. I absolutely concur. In fact, we put the item on consent without actually having the strict need to do so. I absolutely concur with the sense or the spirit of Anna Mae's comment that in any position that is open in the district, as the board well knows, that the position will be flown. This position will be flown. All qualified applicants within the college are free to apply, and the person who is now in the emergency assignment will be given no preference. The position, like all interim positions, needs to be decided, and when it is finally decided, whether it's a confidential position or not is actually at this point irrelevant. When that issue is finally decided, like every position from the lowest classified staff member to the highest executive member, it will be flown and searched. So I think the Vice President, I concur with his recommendation that this is completely compliant and in the best interest of the college.
Move approval of 24P.
Is there a second?
A second.
One.
Wait, I'm trying to figure out how to get this thing. I'm going to have to set it here closer. I just can't reach it.
May I ask one question first?
Sure. I just have a question. Why don't you go yours?
I know. You talked about flown. I think you meant open for people to apply and be considered for the position, correct?
Correct. I mean, if any situation met the definition of an emergency, this was it, okay? A new vice president comes in with absolutely no administrative support. Mm-hmm. We have somebody in the foundation office who is at a level capable of providing that support. We effected a voluntary transfer from one unit to another, okay? That's an emergency acting appointment I stand behind strongly, and if we're ever going to get our IT program going, we need to get moving here. We need to prioritize. The other point, though, is that even though Joellen is in that position today, I think this is her 4th day, that we are flying the position. That is, it will be posted, and every individual who wishes to do so, whether they're qualified or not, will be able to apply for the position and will be interviewed by Vice President Cable for the position, and a selection will be made. That's for the interim position. Then there will be another selection process when the Vice President makes a determination as to what support he recommends in his unit. As I have explained it to you, not in legal language, but in plain English, that is what we explain to our colleagues.
Dr. Mann?
Yes, I do have a question. I understand moving in an emergency situation. We have a new vice president. The vice president has no administrative support. We need to put someone in there to provide this. I have no problem. I have no problem with that. The person you decide to move is a confidential employee, which means they get a 5% increase, raise, more money. Is that correct?
No.
No.
Go
What
ahead.
does it mean? Well, I mean, I know what it means technically, but what does it mean in reality?
Well, I think she was already, there's no change in status and no change in salary.
No changes, okay, I understand that. So my basic question is this position in the Vice President's office, is this going to be a confidential position, or is it just because we're moving a confidential employee in there? It seems to, let me just finish, it seems to me like that is an issue that needs to be discussed, because my understanding of what a confidential employee is would lead me to question that an administrative assistant in an IT vice president's office would actually meet those qualifications unless all the vice presidents have administrative assistants who are at a confidential level. And that is something that I would like for the board to maybe at a future date have a little bit of information on from the Vice President for Human Resources and maybe legal counsel, because one of the things I did hear Anime say was there was an agreement that four of our confidential employees were not really confidential. Is that what you said? Was that what Anime said?
Well,
And so I think this is a really important. I think it's important that we get this clarified. So again, I'm not going to vote against this because it looks to me like we're moving a confidential employee from one position for another on a very temporary basis. But the issue of whether or not this is a position which would be confidential, I would like a little more clarification on.
Well, we've anticipated your question. First of all, Vice President Lastimado and General Counsel Cooper have already been tasked to work with LCW to make a recommendation on confidentials moving forward. Okay. That work is in process. No position will be set, searched, or appointed without a full recommendation to the board on this issue, and I can assure you it'll be 100% legally compliant. So I not only respect your question, I welcome it.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Okay. Are we ready for a vote?
Oh, I do have another.
Yes, okay.
I do have another question. I guess the question I have was when you said that all the interim appointments went through this process. About a month ago, we approved a whole bunch of interim appointments, and I assumed, and I didn't think that those went through the process. Maybe I was wrong. I assumed it was because it was an emergency. We had so many people retire that those positions had to be filled. Like we had to have someone as interim dean of whatever the position is, or head of A&R. We had to have, and then that started the backfilling. But did all of those positions go through this interim process, or were those really emergencies?
Well, those were emergencies, but all current interim positions will be flown.
They will be flown.
They
Okay,
will be
so
flown.
all right. I'm pleased to hear that.
Was my statement.
Although
Having
not
said
every.
that, though, the majority of current interim positions, including one that's just above this one on consent, have been flown.
Right, but not,
So,
not all of them, not yet. Is that correct?
Well, because I suppose because the recommendation hasn't come forward from the appropriate unit as to what they're going to do with that position. It's possible as we move into the budget that we'll get a recommendation from some of the unit that some positions may go away. So I think we're pending those recommendations from the Vice President. So.
Yes, I guess my position is I think management has to run the college. You have every right to do this, and I just hope that we do follow our own policies and procedures, and I'm delighted that we now have General Counsel and a Vice President that can make sure we do that, and I think it's very important that we work with ISSUE and our other bargaining units to make sure that not only do we do it, but that everyone understands it and that there's complete agreement that what we've done, it's open, it's fair, it's transparent.
Right. Good points, and certainly I concur with that, and I'm sure we all do. So, any other comments or questions? Are you ready for a vote? There's been a motion made and a second that we approve consent item 24P. If you're going to vote yes, push the green button. Okay, vote is unanimous. All right, that takes care of the consent calendar, and we are now prepared to deal with item G, fall semester 2011 opening enrollment report, an informative item. Dr. Rocha?
Okay, time to settle in. We've got, first up, we have Bob, Vice President Miller, to give you a very brief photograph of the enrollment on first day. And Bob will move through this briefly. You may see it on your monitor, or as Rick trained us earlier, you may push your personal monitor down and see it in front of you. So, Vice President Miller.
Thank you, Dr. Rocha, members of the board. I want to also acknowledge Crystal Kalras for her role in pulling this brief report together. I'm just going to do kind of a show and tell and hold this up. As you can see, it's 4 pages of lots of columns and lots of digits and lots of everything. And the task that Crystal and I had was to try and boil this down into something that might be a little bit more quick to understand and informative. Let's start with the first slide. And per our Educational Master Plan, we are moving towards a student-centered and progression and completion agenda for everything we do. So what we thought we would do is give you kind of a snapshot dating back to 2006-07 of where we have been by way of sections in our summer, fall, winter, and spring terms, and the total number of sections by year, the total FTES at time of census, what FTES was funded by the state, and what our average FTES per section was. In other words, how much funding do we receive per section on the basis of that information, which, as Rick will tell you, that amount is roughly $4,563 per FTS right now. And then we show you the difference of where we've been, and you can see that the college has done significant work in reducing the amount of unfunded FTES over the years. So that's a quick snapshot. The next slide is basically an indication of how our enrollment management effort, again in support of Educational Master Plan, and our 5 student success achievement targets being degrees, AAAS degrees, our STEM degrees, our CTE certificates, and our basic skills completion rate, and transfer rates. Basically, how we have begun to change our section offering behavior to try and support those 5 achievement targets. So what I really want to particularly do is point out the comparison between fall of 10 and fall of 11, and particularly note, for example, the increase in the English division of 30 additional sections over where we were a year ago at this time, and in the mathematics area, 34 additional sections. And again, that is to help us move our basic skills completion rate further, and also to help students on a progression and completion scale to more quickly get to the courses that they need to do to move on. So, and you can see where those sections came, and as we go further in this process, more adjustments will be made working with the college community in doing that. The next slide has to do with our so-called college readiness. And what we do here is we point out our math sequence and we point out our English composition sequence. And in the math sequence, what you notice is that for those students who are not college ready, depending on where they enter, it could actually take them 4 semesters at the moment to get to the college algebra. In the English area, it would take them a total of 3, but 2 in particular to get them to English. But I also want to point out the number of sections that we've offered and the percentage of fullness of those sections in terms of student needs. So you'll see that we are working hard to try and provide more courses. Beyond that, we are working hard to develop additional types of interventions that would move us away from things that are completely course-oriented. And our math colleagues and English colleagues are heavily at work in that effort. The next slide is a very exciting slide in the sense that part of the EMP is to help move forward in a more aggressive way and provide more opportunities for our graduating 12th grade in-district students to have opportunities to be here. And as Dr. Bell mentioned in his brief presentation regarding Photo Finish Friday, but also in terms of our Pathways project that we're working on a pilot with PUSD on right now that we will roll out to the rest of the district next fall, we've had significant improvement in the number of recent high school grads, 308 in 2010, upwards now of 808 in fall of 2011. You'll also notice a significant increase in the number of out-of-district as well. So all of our combined efforts, be they our UGMA efforts, our Pathways efforts, our student athletes, all the different cohorts and programs that we're doing are paying off very clearly here. And we thought we would share that information with you, and there will be more to come as time goes on. Then the next slide has to do with overall head count, fall to fall. And you'll notice that we are down slightly, but the good news there in terms of being down slightly is that all colleges in the area, if you will, it's comparable. So we're not the Lone Ranger, if you will, in terms of these lower numbers. This seems to be what's happening statewide, or at least here in Southern California, and I think that that sort of speaks for itself in terms of our fiscal situation. But you'll notice that we are on track. You would know this from looking at this, but we're very much on track with our FTES allocation for the balance of the year as we move into the winter and into springtime. And we'll be terms, and we'll be talking to you more about that. And the last slide is a new way that we're going to be trying to get a handle on what we call average class size. And since we're about progression and we're about completers, we thought that we would begin to look at these course types, the English Basic Skills, ESL, Math, and GE Transfer and CTE, in terms of the average class size at the end of the first week, what that will be at census, and then most importantly, what that will be at end of term, to see how we did with completions. And over time, we're going to compile a great deal of information that will help us in our planning activities as we go forward. We're also doing some work on student-faculty ratios in relation to our GETC GE transfer and also in relation to our CTE courses. So we're going to be grinding the data a bit more as we go forward. Two quick things, and then I'll be done here. Going back to our high school cohorts, that 808 number that you saw, what we're going to be doing is working with Dr. Bell, Dr. Jacobs, our faculty colleagues, to develop entering 12th grade first year opportunity programs, first year experience programs for these people. So they'll come in with ed plans. We will put them in their courses. We will monitor them. We will watch them. We will basically create cohorts out of our district folks going forward so we can help them and make sure that they succeed in the manner that they need to, again, towards that progression and completion sequence. When we do our enrollment management, we will then schedule our courses, if you will, in a manner that sort of lays over what their needs are on our scheduling of our courses. So the bottom line is that if we start with a group of 1,000 students, say, we will plan their first year for them, we will plan ed plans for them, and we'll move them through our process and make sure that we have courses and sections for them so that they can more rapidly proceed. And working with Dr. Jacobs, Dr. Bell, and everybody else and in enrollment management, we will continue in that regard. And then finally, what I wanted to speak to is we have an enrollment management committee that is part of our college council shared governance process. The emphasis as we begin our deliberations this year will be on the SB 1440 STAR degrees that Mr. Martinez mentioned earlier. And then we will emphasize those in relation to the basic skills in math that's necessary to help those move forward, the number of IGETC CSU general education transfers that we need, and then also in support of the CTE programs that are most in need. We will work to continue on these creation of these pathway degrees and transfer paths that I talked about, both college-ready and pre-college. We're going to have a laser target on our student success targets, the degrees, the transfer, the CTE, and the basic skills completion rate. As I mentioned, progression and completion across the board move students through much more quickly and efficiently. We're going to begin to again look at our registration priorities as an enrollment management committee and determine as best we can, working with the committee and our associate students, the best way to move forward there. And we're going to do all this under the purview of the College Council, under the co-chairmanship of Mr. Martinez and myself. So enrollment management is off to a good start. And we want to just provide this brief report to give you a sense of where we are and where we're going. And again, we're laser focused on the educational master plan and moving that plan forward. So if I or Crystal can answer any questions, we are here to do that.
Are there questions of Mr. Miller or Ms. Colrose? Dr. Mann?
Yes, and maybe maybe this isn't appropriate. Maybe the deans can answer this. I'm really kind of concerned that this math basic skill class has an average of 33.3 students in it. That seems to me to be high when the regular transfer class has 29.9. And and maybe you can answer it. I would like at some point to know what the recommendation is from the as best practices, what number of students should be in those classes, because I remember back when I used to teach English basic skills, we called it something different then, but that's what it was. It was recommended never more than 18 students. And in the 26.3, I just don't see how you can do it and do the kind of job you need. So I know that probably things have changed, but I would like at some point for us to hear best practice if these numbers are average, over, below, whatever.
Yes, Dr.
Okay. Mr. Baum?
First, thank you for the report, and there's a lot of great information, and I just want to salute the staff and others for their efforts on boosting in-district enrollment and serving high school students. And as we're going to hear later, we're going to lose. We're losing funding. We're teaching a lot of students that we're not getting revenue for, so we're teaching over cap, and then we're going to get a significant budget adjustment from the state during the course of the year. And how are we going to manage that? One of the ways we're going to manage that is by helping students be more efficient in their planning and being able to work them through and make sure they're taking the classes that they need to be successful. And I've already seen evidence of the work Dr. Bell's doing in helping students select courses that will be appropriate. And he was involved with an in-district student to whom I referred him to make sure that this student is taking the right classes and not taking up seats in other classes that wouldn't help them in his reaching his academic goals. And one thing we have at the Annenberg School where I work at USC is a mandatory advisement where every student must go through. Giovanna Carrera was a student advisor for many years. Let's go through the advisement so that there's a check on, are you doing the right, do you have the plan, and are you executing the plan, and you're taking the right classes? And I really hope that one of the ways we're going to be able to deal with the cutbacks and the shrinking funds and the classes that we're able to offer is to advise the students and make sure they're all enrolled in those right programs. And I'm going to do everything I can to support Dr. Bell and Dr. Rocha in getting more resources to advisement and counseling, so that that's one way we'll be able to increase efficiency in our enrollment plan.
And I'm very happy to say that in meeting with Dr. Jacobs and Dr. Bell, we're already talking in that regard, and basically creating these pathways, these education plans, and making certain that, in fact, we do a better job, because it's really, as I said, it's about completion and progression. And right now, we're not doing as good a job as we really need to do for students to get them in, get them established, and get them out in a reasonable period of time.
Absolutely, and this is what the Academic Senate is doing as well, getting these programs in place for the transfer degrees, so that there's a clear path that students can be taking, and then we can devote our resources and our instruction to those efforts.
Are there other questions of Mr. Miller or Ms. Colrose? Thank you very much for a very, very informative and excellent presentation. So, the next item on our agenda is the item H, adopt resolution number 482, approve the GAN appropriation limits for 2011 and 2012.
Move approval.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Baum, seconded by Dr. Mann. Are there questions? All in favor, press the green button here. Unanimous vote. Next, move on to item I on the agenda, receipt of fourth quarterly financial status report. Dr. Rocha?
Yes, here is the quarterly report that we're required to give, and Vice President Van Pelt presents it, and will walk us through it briefly.
Thank you. As you can see, the position of the district is still very solid. The one thing that I would point out is line H3, total cash, over the years has deteriorated, and that's in direct lockstep with the state's withholding and deferral of apportionment. So what happens is that as those things slide into receivables, they're no longer cash on the district side. So that's the explanation. You also see that we prepared an operating statement, which is the colorful one at the last page in the tab, that mirrors those numbers and shows again that we ended the fiscal year very strongly.
Questions of Dr. Van Pelt? Ms. Waugh? Or no, you have your green light on.
Sorry.
Mr. Baum?
The one thing that just puzzled me was the item 5 about it was my understanding that the district had settled employee contracts during the quarter that we adopted. And is that not true that we were able to report that?
Which contracts were settled in the fourth quarter?
I thought we had concluded the PCCFA contract and others.
Well, I think that was reported earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was, I think, done the quarter before, was it not, Dr. Rocha?
I think well, I don't have it to memory, but I know we reported it when we ratified.
Okay,
yeah.
So
it's not a blank. It's not a blank.
Yeah, thank you.
But I would, just in passing, and as a kind of a segue to the Vice President's next presentation, is that the total cash position that is on 3H3 in 2007 was $26.8 million. That is total cash. That is dollars. And our total cash position that we're for the year ended is 12.6. So this is by any definition, a perilous declination in cash, and we cannot, and as we will be recommending, go any lower than that. As Rick will report in a moment, we came within a few days of having to borrow money to make payroll this year. So, but with that, I think that's our report.
The action required of us is just to receive this. Do we have to a motion or anything else? Or?
Receive it.
Okay, is there a motion to receive the report?
Move approval to receive.
Been moved by Dr. Fellow, seconded by Ms. Brown. Any further questions or comments? You vote on yes, green. Another unanimous vote. Wow, we're off to a record tonight.
I like this little light.
Okay, now comes the fun one. Recommend that the board, if this is item J, the Board of Trustees is to have a public hearing to allow members of the public to make comment on the proposed 2011-2012 final budget. So we're first going to have the presentation by Dr. Van Pelt, and then we'll give the public a chance to comment or ask questions.
Okay, thank you again. And what I'll do is I'll just skip through the report that's in the spiral binder, and I'll just touch on certain items in order to allow as much time for questions and discussions and deliberations. The one thing on the first page that I do want to highlight specifically is the December the 15th trigger that's in the Budget Act that was passed in Sacramento. And that is that if revenues on the state side fall short by $1 billion, there is an automatic apportionment cut of $30 million to the system. And if revenues fall by $2 billion or more, and it can go up to $4 billion, the system will cut by an additional $72 million. So to PCC, that would mean on the Tier 1, $600,000 cut and an additional $1.4 million in Tier 2. And furthermore, Tier 1 would bring with it a $10 increase per unit in student fees from $36 to $46. And that will become...
Rick, when you say an additional 1.4, meaning 6 plus 1.4, 2 million?
To total $2 million.
2 million total.
Correct. Okay, now, on page 5, what that also means is that the local revenues, which include student fees, has been increasing, and the state portion of it has actually been decreasing. That's because the fees have gone up from $26 to $36 a unit. So it's not necessarily a good thing that the state's portion of it has been declining. On page 6, you can also see that the unrestricted general fund, the revenue trend, is still downward. And on page 7, the total academic salaries is 48%. You'll see that unallocated, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is 2%. And altogether is 87% for wages, salaries, and benefits. Last year was 90%. However, what happened with the 88 retirements is that the size of the pie shrank rather than the pieces of the pie getting smaller. You can see then that what I did is the total academic salaries on the upper portion of that page, that 48%, I split up into the various different components themselves, so between contract faculty, adjunct, and so forth, so that it provides more of a texture to that academic salary slice. I did a similar thing with the unrestricted general fund and the benefits. So it splits it into the component parts. And then the other large portion was the other expenses and services, so I split that one up as well. Then on page 9, you can see that the beginning balance is $18.9 million, and our projected ending balance is also $18.9 million. And the expenditures in between is $114.6 million, with the $2.142 million unallocated, which we'll discuss in a few minutes. The next 3 charts show the impact on the salaries. Of course, if 90% of the budget is wages, salaries, and benefits, and we're cutting the amount of money that we're talking about cutting, it necessarily follows that that's going to impact salaries. So you see that the academic salaries, the budget has been reduced by 6%, the executive management salaries have been reduced by 21%, and classified salaries by 9%. You can also see at the bottom of page 11 how much of our money goes to instruction, which of course stands to reason, and it breaks it down into the various different vice presidential areas. On the restricted side, you can see that it's a far more even picture. This is on page 12, that the state portion's 44, the local is 29, and the federal is 27%. And of course that comes in large measure from grants. Bottom of page 13 shows when you combine all the revenues for the general fund, the restricted and the unrestricted, what the trend has been doing over the past 10 years, and of course, not surprisingly, it's still declining. Okay, and then what I've done is to have listed all the various different funds, starting on page 15, the Capital Servicing Fund. And in this case, that's to pay down the Del Mar Parking Structure Certificate of Participation. Earlier this year, calendar year, we paid off the state energy loan, so that was retired. So we're just left with the one on the Capital Servicing Fund. Child Development Fund, very small fund, heavily state and federal funded, with some local from the parents who are also contributing. The Capital Outlay Fund, this is one of the two major funds that we use for interfund borrowing should the necessity occur. And so far, we're up to $26.5 million. Within the next number of months, with the U-building replacement costs starting to hit, that number will deteriorate rather significantly. The building fund is Measure P. We started the year with $65 million, and it breaks down the various different projects where all the $65 million is. Scheduled maintenance, the state has within the past number of years not funded this. However, as soon as the state has money and begins to fund it again, it's a one-to-one dollar match. So for each dollar that the state contributes, we have to have a dollar available in order to receive it. Identity Services is an enterprise fund where we're earning money. Self-insurance fund on the workers' compensation is pretty much a flow-through. You'll see that the local funding comes from the unrestricted general fund, and that's a contribution that is tied to wages and salaries. Fund 62, Self-Insurance Fund, Property Liability. Again, it's pretty much a flow-through where we add whatever money is required to cover the bills. Fund 63, this one becomes important. You'll see that the beginning fund balance is $2.9 million, and we'll talk about how we can leverage some of that money in order to help us out in our acute problem. Fund 64, the Supplemental Health, GASB 45. We are currently doing an actuarial study in order to find out what the impact is of all the retirements and the 22 new hires. And basically, the impact will be on the new hires because each year you're building up a liability toward their eventual retirement. I will also say that the last time that we did the actuarial, we were somewhat overfunded, and I believe it was on the order of $600,000 or $800,000 overfunded. So this year we're proposing that there not be a contribution from the unrestricted general fund. And of course, Fund 74, a direct flow through, $35.5 million in financial aid flows through to the students. So if you were to average that out for each of the 26,000 or 27,000 students we have, you can see that there's a tremendous amount of money that flows through directly to the students in financial aid. Full-time equivalent students on page 24. You'll see that we're dropping below 20,000 full-time equivalent students. We're going to be at about 19,800 FTES. And then you get to the apportionment. So we just talked about the impact on the cash position of the district. And what the chart on the top of page 25 shows is in the green bars, you would ordinarily expect our expenses to be fairly constant because, 90% is wages, salaries, and benefits. And then, of course, you have the routine electrical bills and so forth, to where it's fairly constant outflow per month of funds. And then what you'll see is the apportionment comes in the yellow, and you see that we're over-apportioned for 3 months out of the year, which is September, October, November, and July and August are under-apportioned. And then starting in December, it starts to deteriorate pretty significantly. That has an impact that's cumulative because for each month that we're shorted, the following month we have more to overcome. So on page 26, you can see the cumulative impact to where in the month of June this coming year, we're projecting almost $22 million in apportionment deferrals. You see then the state intends to pay back a large chunk of that in the month of July. However, we won't fully recover until October. which is a significant change from previous years. Okay, and then the budget sheet that I have, the colorful one that follows page 26, is our projection and what the budget is. So this shows you the revised budget from last year, the actual budget from the actual expenditures from last year, our proposed 11-12 budget, the dollar change, and the percentage change. The most critical number is the bottom one, which is $2.142 million, and that is the unallocated portion that we'll now talk about. And then if you go to the next page, on the left-hand side is a summation of the chart that I just presented with that $2.142 million in red halfway down the page. One of the options that we're proposing is an interfund transfer from Fund 64, which is the self-insurance fund. And the idea is that by moving the annual contribution from the general fund to the dental fund, typically that occurs by each employee per month has a liability that we cover. Okay, so we actually move money from the general fund into the dental fund in order to cover expenses. So that's set for each employee. What we're proposing here, because we have about a 2-year reserve built up in that fund, is to not fund it from the general fund this year, but the mechanism that we're proposing to use is actually to do an interfund transfer back to the general fund and then to use those funds in order to make the general fund contribution into the dental fund. So essentially what we're doing is using the dental fund to pay for its contributions this year. So what that would do is it would reduce the ending balance by about 50%, from about $2.9 million by about 50% for next year. Now what that would do is it would allow us to have potential revenue of $116 million, which instead of $2.142 million would allow us $3.526 million, which is the number in the middle on the right-hand side of the page. Then what we did in the Budget and Resource Allocation Committee is we ranked the various different options that were developed. So from the mid-year state cut all the way down to borrowing $18 million, all those were ranked by the committee, and the rankings then show up in the yellow boxes. The mid-year state cut, at this moment it's a near certainty that there would be a mid-year cut. And as I pointed out, there's a December the 15th trigger where the state will determine what its revenues are. I will also say that right now there's pretty frantic activity in Sacramento to see if they can avoid that through some form of legislation, which would require a compromise between the Democrats and the Republicans in order to accomplish. Then replacing the staff positions, and you can see it goes from $0 to $2 million. On average, including benefits, a staff person is about $100,000. The reassigned time, again, from 0 to $1.6 million. This is where faculty are reassigned to do essentially management or quasi-management functions. To the extent that we reduce that, more money will become available for reassignment through some other expenditure. SASE, which is Student Access and Success Initiative. This would be new. What we did in the previous year is we defunded at the year end all SASE projects. They were refunded because they were carryovers. In other words, projects were approved from last year, have not yet been completed, so they've been refunded for this year. However, this is new SASE from $0 to $1 million, and the idea is that this would be spent strictly on revenue enhancement programs. The concept being that if you do not plant seed, you will not have a crop, and you actually have to invest money in order to earn money. The categorical backfill, right now, and that's we spent $359,000 this year in categorical backfill, which means that there are people who are in Fund 3 who the state have defunded. And in this case, what we've done is we've backfilled in order to cover those people. However, I think that there's an opportunity for us to become more efficient and not spend anything close to $359,000. The contribution to the ERP is the Enterprise Resource Plan, which is the main technology upgrade plan. In previous years, we've contributed $1 million. As a part of the sweep from the 2010-11 year, we made a contribution in excess of that in anticipation of a weaker budget. Fund 800 students over cap. There's nothing magical about the number 800, but for that number, we're projecting that it's about $1.33 million. Salary increase of 1% to all employees would amount to about $750,000. Contribution to the other post-employment benefit, which I discussed a little bit earlier, from $0 to $1.4 million. And finally, if we were to borrow $18 million at current interest rates, it would cost us about $1 million per year. And then the next page that I want to discuss is the one that was handed out to you, that is called the budget options for September the 7th. That was not in the binder. So what we attempted to do is to come up with some conceivable options. Of course, there are any number of other ones that we could do. You can see that the unallocated portion assumes the transfer from the dental fund back into the unrestricted general fund. And it assumes that the $2 million mid-year state cut will take place. And what that does is it leaves a net $1.5 million unallocated. So one option is that the vacant positions, some of them be replaced. The total savings from the 88 retirements was on the order of $8.4 million. So, and that's 88 people. And you can see $1.5 million would be about 15 positions. Option 2 is a blended option where perhaps $1 million would be spent for replacement of positions, $500,000 toward revenue enhancement, again with the concept that you have to plant seed in order to reap a crop. And that total, of course, would be $1.5 million. That is the option that the district is recommending, that the administration is recommending for approval. For discussion purposes, we were trying to think outside the box of other things that might be possible. So it would assume the same $1 million for the replacement of positions, the same $500,000 for revenue enhancement. However, it would also assume 2% enrollment growth for $500,000. This would mean that we would educate those students on the district's money because we would not be reimbursed by the state. It also assumes $500,000 would be put toward collective bargaining in terms of working toward agreements, and it would include, and it would be funded by extending the supplemental early retirement plan that had gone forward June the 30th and extending that till December the 31st with the hopes of saving $1 million, which would then pay for the other portions. The net of all that would be $1.5 million. So with that, any questions that you might have, I'd be pleased to attempt to answer.
Questions of Dr. Van Pelt? Mr. Baum?
So I want to make sure I'm clear on what we're being asked to do today.
Right.
And so, what, you're asking us to adopt this budget, right, today? And then give board direction on the priorities for these other modifications. Is that what you're
And let me
asking
just
us to do?
clarify, this is the first year that we have brought forward a proposed budget. Normally, this book would say adopted budget.
Mhm.
So this budget, as it currently is written, is not a balanced budget because there's $2 million unallocated. So what I would hope that we would do is to allocate those funds into one of our options and then to adopt the budget. And then if there was a discussion or further information that was required for our option 3, there is a little bit of time to develop that further because it's a brand new concept.
So the budget that we would be adopting also approves the interfund transfer from the dental fund to the general fund.
Yes.
And then and so that's one move that we'll be taking with this adoption.
Yes,
as well.
correct.
Correct.
And that once we lose that funding, those funds that had accumulated in the dental benefits fund, those took years to accumulate. that we won't have those again, like next year. We're not going to have another $1.5 million to transfer from that, correct?
Well, we can actually do it for 2 years.
Right. Okay.
But thereafter, you're correct.
Okay, and then I just had a couple of very quick questions about the data. Let me pull this up. I noticed that, again, as one of the principles we adopted as a board is to keep cuts as far away from the classroom as possible. And one of the ways you see that is the category of employee taking the largest cut in expenditures is executive and management. And so I wanted to
Can I follow up on that?
go ahead.
So one of my questions was, I just can't, on the graph, quantify the numbers. It, something below 7 million to something above 5 million.
For which
Is that
one?
what I'm seeing? He's on page 10, the minus 21% to executive and management salaries. It looks like 1.8 million? Is that
It's
about
about
right?
$2 million plus benefits.
2 million plus benefits?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And then I just want to clarify just two other things. One is on the Fund 42, the building fund. And this is the project includes, it's $65 million. The top line, other than the Center for the Arts, was construction management and general contingency. This doesn't mean that we're paying Jack Schulman $25 million on construction management. Primarily, what would those funds be used for?
Only in his dreams.
Yeah.
No, what that is that's the contingency portion. And essentially what happened is that the Center for the Arts came in about $20 or $22 million under our expectation. And therefore what happens is you defund it out of the Center for the Arts and put it back into the general contingency.
Right. And this is for another time, is there any sense that any of those funds can be used for the relocation of the the occupants of the Serafian building for that type of
Not for
purposes?
that, because that was not contemplated in the bond measure, but there are other uses of the money.
Right, and you'll be coming back
Yes,
to
sir.
us for that. And then, great, that's all I had right now. But when the BRAC committee came up with those recommendations, but the board actually then will set the priorities through our action.
Correct.
And we have the recommendations here.
Correct.
Mr. Martin?
I had a few questions and a few comments. My first question was adequate funding of insurance, retirement, and GASBs. So we're not doing the 1.4 in this budget because we have a surplus in the last actuarial, but obviously at some point we're going to have to, every year there's some liability that's occurring, we're going to have to kick in, similar to the dental, be kicking back in on that, correct?
We assume so, and we are currently working on the actuarial, but we're very comfortable that this year we can afford to forego the 1.4 million traditional contribution.
I just had one
Yeah,
question
go
about that
ahead.
number on that too, because on Fund 64, it says, so the 600,000 is what we're currently paying to recipients of that benefit. Is that correct?
Okay. I got an emergency phone call, and this will be really quick, so I'm just going to ask to be excused, and I'll come right back, and I'll take my light off till I get back.
But the benefits we're expending out of that fund is $600,000 according to this, correct?
Which page are you on?
I'm
20?
on Fund 64, page 23.
Okay, and what we're spending is basically $1.2 million.
Right, but here it says employee benefits is 600,000.
And then the other operating expenses. So it breaks into two sections. But what happens is that those are the ongoing year-to-year expenses.
But so what I was trying to get the sense is to give out $600,000 worth of benefits, do we have to spend $750,000 in expenses? It just seems like a high overhead.
No, it's just broken down into two different sections.
I see.
But this is the annual expense, and then what we do is we put in $1.2 million So it does not shrink the annual contribution. What it is shrinking is the addition to the fund itself to increase the fund balance.
So the money that our retirees are getting in pocket from this benefit is about 1.2 million?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Martin?
Okay, if I could pick back up. I had a question on cash flow. So we have, starting with an ending balance, but cash of 12 million, and we're already showing a low of 20 million. And then my additional concern is, as we move towards the U building issue, and I saw 6 million in here for the U building, and that's cash out to get that new part of the campus going. Where does all this cash, where does the cash come from?
Well, and there are different pots of cash. So on the 311Q, that was on the general fund. So we do have cash for both
the other
OPEB
funds.
and for Fund 42. So, you know, between the two of those funds, we have about $42 million at the moment. But you're correct, we will shrink the capital outlay fund by about $6 million, back to about $20 million.
Okay. And then I asked some questions earlier that I just think are important for everybody to kind of get a sense of. And that was, if you could just answer quickly again, Rick, the fact that many of our funds are self-insured. We don't see a transfer line in the budget from general to those things because, for example, like dental, it goes out under benefits, or insurance liabilities would go out under some other line item expense. But all those transfers are occurring to support those funds. The one that confused me was the one where I thought we weren't doing a transfer, and yet it showed local income. And that one, I circled as you rolled through them quickly, was the self-insurance fund for GASB. I thought we said we weren't doing the 1.4, yet local income here is 1.241. Is that the interest on the balance that's in there or something?
No, what that is the as I explained when you stepped out.
Oh, okay.
Is that's the money that goes in to cover the ongoing year expenses.
For the SERP or for the?
For the employee retirement.
For the employee, okay.
Right.
I'm sorry on that. I think it's apropos that we had the student, the class section enrollment report as part of this, because as we're looking over these priorities, it's a priority of mine to offer as many classes as we possibly can. I think if there's one comment we hear over and over again, it's we can't get our classes, we can't get our classes. I want to commend the college, the administration, and everybody involved for the way we obviously put a priority on math and English, which when you hear somebody say, I can't get my classes, they're usually referring to a math or an English class. That's usually the comment that follows that, so I appreciate the fact that we're addressing that. But I wonder if there isn't a way that we can somehow merge these two documents. Not in the budget document, but in our enrollment management, we see class offerings this year projected to be 5,230 class sections, and that's an approximate 354 drop from the year before. And I realize we're not getting the funding. But when we talk about filling 15 positions, how does filling those 15 positions translate to more class sections so that we're using those positions, we're using the money for those positions to hire teachers to fill classes so that students can get the classes they need, get in and get where they want to go. So I was hoping as we progress on this that we could almost translate some of the dollars into class sections. When we talk about, and this is a little bit of forward thinking, but when we talk about enhancing local income for fundraising, we need to that and I'm not saying this in some ways, a lot of fundraising effort has done a sensational job, and I commend it for the amount of scholarships that are available. We issue a tremendous amount of scholarships, but to continue to raise money for scholarships and to give students scholarships without giving them classes they can get into is giving them a train ticket to nowhere, right? It's a free train ticket that doesn't go anywhere. What good is that? So as we're generating this local income, I'm concerned that there's some process for translating that into more available class sections for students to take. I know you're chomping at the bit to answer the question because I gave it to you in advance.
There's a lot in there.
There's a lot in there, so I'll let you.
Well,
I'll let you get a whack at it.
No, I appreciate the question, and let me just make a very brief start on trying to be helpful. First of all, the positions that we propose being filled are not specific positions that we're coming to today. That's a plug number that we're saying at some point pretty soon we're going to come back to you and we're going to say we need a position in. Now, for example, and we're estimating very conservatively here, but one thing that I think we can agree on is we are now officially at the wall. Okay, there are no, you push up here, you know, the money's got to come from somewhere, as you noted. So, for example, international students. Is it time for us to fund a position in Dean of International Students and increase the number of international students to an order of, say, Santa Monica, about, from about 1,000 to 2,000, which we could do? That would increase the number of sections for our district and non-district students. 1,000 international students would produce about $5 million of incremental revenue. I'm not saying that we're going to present that, but that would be the connection between your point about, if we do go after, positions, and you'll have those positions before you to approve, how will that leverage revenue, which will in turn increase class sections, okay? But the other point I'd make, and Vice President Miller is now for the first time charting, because the chart that both Bob and Rick presented shows that actually we've, for the last 3 years, we've been cut in our workload and we've been funding all of that enrollment, and now we've just, officially hit it. One of the things that Bob showed is that not all sections are equal. Okay, so we need to see most of our budget, and I'm asking research to demonstrate this or not, but we suspect that most of our budget is going against funding additional sections for students who did not complete for whatever reason.
Say that again.
In other words, say for instance it showed the average class size on day one, okay? In a couple of weeks, Bob will show what the average class size at census. Census is the day we actually get paid.
Sure.
Okay? But the real important number that we've never looked at is what the average class size is on the last completion day. That number, we suspect, and we impute no responsibility or blame on anyone, but we suspect that number, the completion day number, is significantly lower than the census day or the beginning number that we obsess on. So as we shift our resources, and we will have to shift resources, to completion, okay, we will free up significant dollars to add sections of those core courses that, and obviously we've made a pretty good start here. English, math, the transfer subjects that all students need. So that's not a complete answer, Trustee Martin, but just some points.
So let me restate it, but let me state it more succinctly and rubber on the rub. So what I'm saying is we count FTEs in here and we count dollars in here. I want to count class sections, though I tremendously appreciate class sections is a proxy for student success. And the real student success isn't the number of sections, but it's the number of course completions. So what you're working on is a higher retention rate.
Correct.
lower dropout rate, it's all good, and I'll just think it's great. But as a proxy, as to where we put our money, and you give me this option, I would like you to translate this into course sections in an estimated way, like you qualified it by hiring an international student director. I would like that translated into and I realize it's an estimate, a quantifiable, well, this would, if we put our money here, mean we can offer X number more sections for students.
Our current model number that we're using, that we used in this model, is a section costs $5,000 at the lowest, at virtually the lowest adjunct rate.
Because
So
okay.
$500,000 would give us 100
But
sections.
I'm asking you to kind of do that math for me as you're giving me three options, because looking at the three options on here, I immediately gravitate to option number 3. It says 2% enrollment growth. That just grips me. That's what we need. We need to help students get in and get where they want to go. We got to have more class sections. So why would I not want option 3? I mean, just by default. But if you can retranslate option 1 into those positions mean more class sections, well, now you got my attention. You know what I'm saying? Or option 2, what that means for future revenue enhancement to ultimately allow our students to get more sections. I realize we're funding sections. The state is not funding for us. But that's what this whole document to me is all about. Whether it's coming from the state or not, that's what we're here for, is to get these class offerings out there so these people can get in and get where they want to go. And I know it's limited, and I know you can't do as much when you're cut $10 million. So I'm actually very appreciative of the whole college and the direction it's going. But it seems to me now is the time to put our money where our class sections should be. So I would appreciate a kind of a translation here.
Can I also just mention that the first thing that we did is at the beginning of the meeting, we met the new faculty. So the very first thing that we did is funded those faculty members. So there were 22 faculty members who are funded in the budget. If you were to look in the main budget book on page 289 and continuing to page 293, these are the vacant positions that are unfunded. There are 127 of them. And in some cases, what needs to occur is to balance out the various different needs, as Dr. Rocha has pointed out, because having faculty without support also creates problems within the institution.
And
let me back up just 1 second here. My understanding is that what we're asked to do this evening is to adopt this budget and select one of options 1, 2, or 3. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Well, again, if our real goal is student success, and the reason I like to view a course completion by any student as a student success is because it's a total collaborative team effort. It takes proper counseling. It means the book has to be in the bookstore at the beginning of the course so that the student doesn't drop out because they're too far behind because they didn't have the book. It means the place has to be clean. It means everything has to work right. And I leave to you working with the college to make those kinds of decisions, but when it comes to representing the community and the needs that we hear on a regular basis, I'd like it translated into course sections, which are the proxy for student success in my mind, because that's the option I would prefer.
Mr. Miller has his hand up over here.
I just wanted to point out on that, the first chart on the number of credit sections in FTES, that we're on track to go above our FTES target by 575 FTES, which is approximately 150 sections. So in our current model, we're going to be offering 150 sections more than what we are going to be funded for from the FTES point of view. And there is a cost with that, and when Dr. Rocha and I were playing with this number the other day, we figured it was roughly 30% or so. So it's about $750,000 one way or the other to fund those based upon what's going to happen. So we are on track to offer more than we're getting paid for by roughly 150 sections. I just thought that might be something else.
Dr. Mann? Or
Yes.
Mr. Martin, are you finished?
I am, thank you.
Okay, well, my comments are going to be much briefer, I think. First of all, I'd like to go looking at this page here where we have the budget principles. And I was on the budget committee a couple of years ago and appreciated Dr. Van Pelt's developing this. I noticed that we have two overarching principles that I think we're meeting here. One is the impact of the state budget on the PCC student access will be minimized, and the second is the impact on full-time PCC employees will be minimized. And so I think this budget does try to address this. And particularly having served now for almost a year on the Student Success Task Force for the state, I think we need to when we say access, we need to combine that with success. And so just offering the classes, making the classes available may not really be the only thing you need for student success. And you mentioned that, Mr. Martin. I heard what you said when you need the teachers and so on. But for example, I think a much more critical number was what Dr. Rocha was mentioning when we look at how many students actually complete the class. And so if we have a huge amount of students, which we do have, 80%, 70% or so forth, who are not prepared to do college level work, if we offer more sections of the courses they need, and there's a very low completion rate, I don't see that that's moving students necessarily forward. So I would encourage the administration, and actually I think it's really important that we do fill some of these positions, assuming that we're going to hire counselors and so forth. And I encourage the administration to go in the direction that they're going, that we combine success and access together. Because I just think just having the classes available for most of our students simply is not enough. And one of the other things that I hope we can concentrate on, one of the things we've been talking about a lot at the state level is, and I'm quoting, I would never say this, is we're paid based on butts and seats. How many students are in a classroom? We're not really paid on what students learn. We're tied to a semester. There's a huge amount of research, and Dr. Wright is here, that shows, particularly in the basic skills, sometimes you can get students through the material and get them to a level quicker than in a 16-week semester if you use different innovative ways and have them do like intensive work. So that's what I think is really important for us to keep in mind. And I agree what our people in our district want are more classes. But I think it's incumbent on us to always remember that it's important not only to get the student in the class, but to get them through the class and into the next class. And I think that's what hiring these other people will help do. So I agree with what you're saying. I think it's important to put this in a larger context. And I would hope next year when we look at our overarching principles, we would combine student success and access in the way that I just did. So it's not just access, not just opening up classes that students can come in, but a tremendous amount of effort on making sure that they come out and then go to the next level.
Ms. Brown, you have the green light on. I assume you mean to have the white light on. You want to ask the question?
Yes, I do
Or you
want to
want
ask a
to
question.
encourage us to
Thank
take a
you.
vote?
Maybe I just vote. Okay, lots of jokes here. I am really listening to this attentively, and this budget is very serious. And I listened to John discuss the desire to have more sections, and I think that would be something that we all share. But seeing what we have, I think PCC is doing a tremendous job trying to offer, not trying, but going overboard to offer more classes for our students. And the fact that we have all these openings, because I am still pretty shook up with our exit of all the staff that left. It is definitely imperative to fill some of these positions because students, the whole school operate with staff teachers, administrators, and what have you. So you cannot just have classes without the support system. The fact that, and it's all been said, I'm just recapitulating because Jeanette sort of mentioned what I was going to mention, but it is important for us to live within our budget as much as we can because things are very bad. And the fact that this budget is so, the cuts are going to be tremendous. And for us to just, our goal here is student success. I think we all will attest that we want to give as much as we can to our student, but given what we have, we're going to have to just do the best we can. And I applaud the way this budget has been set up. I applaud Rick Van Pelt for a tremendous job. He's got the scenarios. He's given us now and future, so we're not grabbing at during December when, if it happens, we don't have to come back again and start reshuffling stuff. So it's a good picture that we have, and we need to, use caution and stay within our budget as much as we can. And maybe by next year, we may be able to offer some more sections. I think we're doing great. We're not getting paid for a whole bunch of the students that we're offering. So I think we're doing good, and we'll do the best we can.
Okay. Dr. Fellow?
Thank you. I just wanted to support my colleague, Dr. Mann, and I agree with all the comments that she made this evening. Success really isn't the completion of classes and how many classes. In academia, it is what a student learns in a class. And assessment today is a big thing at the university, and I hope it is here at the college. What are the goals of the class? What are the learning objectives? And how do students complete this? And to me, I think it's very important in academia that it is what students are learning in the classroom, and it is not the number of classes. Thank you.
One thing I would mention here is that the PCC Foundation is in the process of recruiting an executive director. And I think that people on the foundation or board are well aware of the fact that they need to go out and raise much more significant amounts of money than they've been able to in the past, although in the last several months they've raised in excess of $5 million, so they're not doing too badly, but given the economy of the state, we need to do a whole lot better than that, but they are gearing up to accomplish that very thing. So we need to open this up to the public as a public hearing and give the public a chance to comment if they wish. So if I may, let me do that and open up the hearing, and anybody who wishes to address the board, come right ahead.
Hello, everybody. My name's Kevin Clinton. Some of you have met me, some of you haven't. I know it's late, so I'll be really quick. I don't know the other three options. I only know the one that...
Could you begin by telling us who you are, please?
Oh, I'm Kevin Clinton. Sorry. I don't... Yeah, there we go. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I've introduced myself, so hello. And for those who don't, I'll try to talk to you. I only know of... Wait, could you hear everything I just said or no?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. I only know of one of the options, which was the third one. I don't know the other two.
The other two are to spend $1.5 million replacing the positions that are vacant at the present time, maybe not all of them, but some of them. Option two is spend $1 million replacing positions, and $500,000 on revenue enhancement. Then you're familiar with the third option. So.
And we should say that those are just options that are presented. We could come up with a completely new framework if we desired.
Right.
And just to clarify too on the options, and I think in my attempt to kind of thread the needle on where you were going, is that what the administration is proposing in the proposed adoption of the budget is to adopt tonight option 2, which will enable us to continue the business. While we look at some of the revenue enhancements, cost savings, restructuring, et cetera, and so on. We have until December, I think all of us have in our hearts option 3, to fund the maximum amount for students, to be able to work with our union partners. And so all of us would option 3, but what we're saying to the board is that if we approve the proposed budget with option 2, we have time until we see what the state does with its revise until the end of December. And hopefully with the vigorous actions that we've talked about tonight, that we would be able, to do a revise and actuate those option 3. So.
Okay, so I, as a public member, just wanted to know, is there any chance the options could be tabled and you could approve the budget as it is right now, or is that not an option?
Dr. Rocha?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by tabled.
As in just held to
because,
the next meeting.
Don't adopt any of the options.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what that would mean is that no money would be spent, and the money would be held, and there would be no benefit and no spending along these lines, so that if no option was, this is not spending, this is a plan for spending, okay? Big difference.
Yes.
This authorizes the administration not to spend money, but to come to the board, each board meeting, and say, this is what we recommend spending money on against the budgeted amount. These are not operation decisions. This is a budget allocation decision. So to be helpful, okay, and I totally take your point, all right? If the board decided not to adopt the budget but with no options, that money would just be held and nothing would happen. So nothing would happen.
Yeah.
And we need to, in the recommendation that the administration is making to the Board of Trustees, we need to move forward. So this would give us, for example, this would give us the spending authority to move forward with this general guidance. But if, for example, as I explained earlier, that the administration decided, well, we need a position in, okay, that would be fully consulted, and the board would have a decision to make. The other thing, though, that I strongly would, and I'm trying to be helpful to your question, is we're not in an expense problem. We're in a revenue problem, okay? If you look at the budget, we're taking a $10 million hard money hit to the budget. We have $10 million less than we did this time last year, okay? The problem is not because we're running our expenses, as you can see, our expenses are going down. The problem is our revenue is going down.
Yeah. I wasn't
So what
trying
I'm
to imply
proposing
that.
to the board is the authority, the ability to present to the board revenue enhancement positions and alternatives. I mentioned the international students was one, so that we could enhance the revenue and then come back, when in December and hopefully have an improved revenue picture. So that's my extended answer to your question.
Okay, and I just wanted to, I guess, give support to option 3 because even you can't really help students advance without having access, if you get what I mean. If they don't have the extra access, trying to be more helpful while they're here won't help as much. So I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but I'm hoping you understand what I mean.
I think we do, right.
Okay, wonderful. That's all. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to address the board with respect to the proposed budget? If not, I will declare the hearing closed. Mr. Martin?
I had a question. So in here, you showed us all these vacant positions, but those positions are part of this budget, are they not?
They are unfunded in the budget.
Oh, they're unfunded?
Yes. So there's about $12 million unfunded.
Okay, I'm a little confused. So the numbers on the page do not include the vacant positions.
they include the vacant positions as unfunded. So we, in order to balance the budget to come where we are, all those open positions had to be unfunded. Now, I'll say that about 40 or 50 of them were unfunded last year too, because if you recall, we've been in a hiring freeze for a while. So 88 of the new positions occurred June the 30th. However, we did hire 22 faculty members back for a price of about $2 million.
Other questions? Dr. Mann?
Yes, I have a question. I think I have this correct, but I want to make sure. It's my understanding that option 2 blended is the recommendation of the Budget Advisory Committee. Is that correct?
The
Dr.
Budget
Van Pelt?
Advisory Committee recommended an order from 1 to 10.
Uh-huh.
And we did not delve into the various different combinations and permutations that could be developed because there are an endless number. This was a way that the administration took those priorities and packaged them in a way that would be workable.
Then, may I ask the same question in another way? Is this recommendation of option 2, is that consistent with the Budget Advisory Committee's recommendation? I understand one of their recommendations was to replace some of the positions.
Yes, and if you were to look at the last sheet, the top priority, far and away, was the
Yes.
taking account the budget cut. Then the next one was replacing positions, the reduction of reassigned time, the SASE, categorical backfill. So yes.
The reason I'm raising this point at this time is the Budget Advisory Committee has representatives from the shared governance groups. Is that not
Yes,
correct? I
that's
mean, there's
true.
faculty, there's staff, there's students, there's management, and so on. So we kind of get a sense of the campuses, of the whole college's views on this. Plus, this is the administration's interpretation of it. And is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Baum?
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to move approval of the proposed budget and of the remaining $1.5 million unallocated funds that would be approved in this budget would be assigned $1 million to replace positions and $500,000 for a fund earmarked for revenue enhancement
So
purposes.
that's option 2.
Yes.
Is there a second to that?
A second.
Been moved and seconded. Further questions or discussion? Mr. Martin?
Okay. Well, obviously, just looking at this, to move from option 2 to option 3 really is predicated on a new CERT plan, right?
Correct.
So there's nothing that precludes us in this motion to start exploring the possibilities of an option 3, which would include, as Dr. Rocha pointed out, maybe some help in negotiations on salaries and in higher enrollment. My other question was that when we look at the 3.5, it sounded like you said 1.4 of the 3.5 is coming from the dental transfer. And that's good for one more year after this? Is that what I heard?
Correct.
Yeah.
We can do this
So-
2 years.
So just to state the obvious, if we use $1 million to replace positions, and everything is status quo, it's funded this year, and it's funded next year, but it's not funded the following year when the dental transfer goes away.
We actually have to have enhancement of revenue. So we have to bear fruit with our investment.
Further questions?
Okay, and then I'm actually comfortable with this option 2 but I would still like at some point to get an answer on how the replacement of these positions will either directly or preferably directly through maybe more class sections or indirectly through other revenue enhancements and other things that contribute to student success lead us to student success and benefit the students.
I'll say for my motion would include, any of those replacement positions will come back to the board.
It has to.
Right.
It has to.
And I know that.
And
that's
fact-
why I'm asking, as we go forward with this, I'm looking at Rick, I don't know why I'm looking at you, because this is really, okay?
Because he's in your line of sight.
Yeah, he's in the line of
You
sight.
can look at him.
Yeah. That I think we need justification that supports why these decisions. We always leave these to the college to bring it forward, but people want access to these classes, and we know we want to improve the retention so that they can succeed. So I'm going to support this, but as these positions come forward, I'm going to ask that part of the justification include that component.
Okay,
Does that seem
understood.
fair?
Yeah. I think that's
No
Hope
problem.
the rest of the board would support that.
right, fair, readily understood. Other questions? Are you ready for the motion? Okay, if you want to vote yes, push the green button.
Figure out how to do it.
Wow, another unanimous vote. We're on a roll tonight.
We're having so much fun with our voting machine.
Mr. Thompson, Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
can I just take a moment to thank two people, Sherry Hassan and Odessa Walker,
Absolutely.
who came back specifically after their retirement to help us with this budget and to train our two new people who will be Marie Descalzo and Anthony Brown, who were also instrumental, as well as Cindy Smith, who constantly helps put the budget together. So the dedication by Sherry and Odessa to come back specifically to do this task, I think needs to be recognized by the district.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Your work is very, very much appreciated, so thank you very much for what you've participated in here.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I just wanted to thank Rick and Mark and the whole crew, and I know the blood and guts are Sherry and Odessa. But this really was an incredible document, and I know, despite everything else that happened this summer, this had to really take a huge amount of collaborative effort to deal with this much, with that kind of cut and all that we're going through, and to preserve and actually increase math and English courses and preserve what we did. I'm really just elated. I think it's just, you guys did a phenomenal job, and I'm going to be here banging for every additional class section I can get, but you really, the whole group, the whole college, it's really, I'm quite proud to be associated with PCC at a time like this, be able to do what we're doing. So just thank you.
Very, very well put. Future board meeting dates this coming Saturday, September the 10th. We have a retreat beginning at 8:30 a.m. at the Athenaeum at Caltech, the mezzanine. Next meeting is Wednesday, the 21st. Study session meeting, 6 p.m. South Pass Unified School District, boardroom 1020 El Centro in South Pass. Future agenda items.
I assume we're way down the road, but I'm still concerned about our meeting in South Pass when we haven't met in some of the other districts. And there was no discussion of the board prior to this going forward with this. And I know this is on our agenda, which is a public document for the retreat. But I went back and I looked, and the board is the one that determines when and where we meet. And actually, we have to vote on this. And so I'm pleased we're meeting in South Pasadena. I would hope in the future that we would have a better rotation and not go back to one district before we've had a chance to have study sessions in the other districts. And that these planning does not start in advance so that it really puts the board in a position where we really cannot vote on this. So I'm not going to move that we change this meeting, but I do think we should keep in mind that, the board decides when and where we meet, and that should be an open and public discussion.
Okay, this is an item that no doubt will be brought up on Saturday.
Yes.
I would note that we have mentioned publicly, I think back our July 6th meeting, if I remember accurately, we would be meeting in South Pass for this particular meeting.
That was the
So-
August meeting. That
No,
the
it was
last-
July
in
6th, the
August.
one you missed. So it did come out at that time. Anyway, future agenda items, anything that I would like to have on the agenda? Then I think we are adjourned. Thank you.